If you think you know what to expect in Epic Encounter boxes, this one breaks the mold in a number of ways. This is our first crossover product, featuring an adventure that takes place in the world of Symbaroum by Free League Publishing. You can check out my unboxing video linked up there in the corner for an overview of the setting, but long story short, you have a fairly dark world featuring an elven protected forest teeming with treasures, ruins, and dangers. And you have a robust world with some new takes on classic creatures. Symbaroum features its own D20 system, including a corruption mechanic to reflect the dangers of delving too deeply into magic or into the darker aspects of the world. But this tie-in is with the spin-off called the Ruins of Symbaroum, which was an adaptation of the game into 5e. To fully utilize everything in this box, everything it has to offer, including those corruption mechanics, you will also need the Ruins of Symbaroum Player's Guide, sold separately. But I think you can enjoy this pretty thoroughly with just the 5e rules that you already know. And if you want to use the Symbaroum D20 rules, there is a free version of the rules of the system here that you can download, which we'll have linked for you down below as well. A lot of what's in this book is story and setting and role-playing and tactics, this book inside here. So if you want to adapt it to a different rule set, I think it's pretty doable. What will be familiar to Epic Encounters fans is that this box contains a double-sided reusable map, an adventure book, and a collection of very nicely sculpted, unpainted minis. But the adventure book is significantly more robust than what we've had before, with a larger word count. So, with thanks to Steamforged Games for sending us this box our way to review, let's take a look at Ruins of Symbaroum, the gem in the Barrow. Enhance and improve your 5e games today with Hit Point Press. Explore the whimsical dark carnival setting of Heckna. Will you see through the glitzy charade or fall prey to Heckna's everlasting torment? Or explore the cute but deceptively deep campaign setting of Humblewood, where a new threat imperils the peace between the Humblefolk and the Birdfolk. Or enhance your 5e games with animated spell, condition, and townsfolk cards. Add a slew of creative and gorgeously illustrated magical items with the Griffon Saddlebag. Learn more today at Hit Point Press by using our link in the corner or down below. We're going to start off by looking at our minis. In this adventure, a very rare and powerful gem is discovered at the top of a barrow in the forest. And there are 4 factions vying for it: the Elves of the Woods, the Barbarians, the Goblins, and the player characters. For the first time in an Epic Encounters box, we have some PC minis. If these are based on some pre-existing characters in the Symbaroum universe, I'm afraid I'm not familiar with them. Feel free to share some insights in the comment section down below, though. I can say that these particular characters aren't referenced in the accompanying adventure book, though, so you will need to bring your own character sheets, backstory, and personality. But of course, you can certainly bring your own heroes to this adventure as well. But man, these are some pretty gorgeous minis. If you're new to the Epic Encounter series, the minis come unprimed and unpainted, but fully assembled and on their bases. You can use them right out of the box or take some time to prime and paint them. And if you do paint them up, kindly take some pictures and post them in our Discord server because I would love to see them. And as usual, the box is designed to be used at multiple tiers of play with designated adjustments for levels 1 through 4, 5 through 10, and 10 plus. Let's start off here with our goblins. Each of the 3 factions includes 1 boss mini and 3 identical minions. Here are our goblin minions. Each faction includes a backstory for the Symbaroum setting, a role-playing guide, and a battle tactics guide, plus stat blocks for 5e, including the extra Symbaroum information for their shadows and corruption. The goblins are talkative, cunning, and not necessarily up for physical confrontation. And here is their leader, an eel goblin caster named Fentist Eel Strangler. The goblins in this setting are very much mistreated by the larger races, and this particular group is fed up with it. They see the gem as a way to strike back at those who are oppressing them, but another goblin in the hierarchy has other things in mind for the gem. There are currently 11 barbarian tribes in Ambria, and the group here is made up of outlaws drawn from multiple clans, all upset by their chieftain's desire to make a peace treaty with the other factions. The barbarians, as you might suspect, are the most physically aggressive faction, but they can be reasoned with if the PCs have a deft touch. The barbarians are led by Buran Makjazora, a brutal and tireless warrior who is more willing to swing an axe than even her barbarian companions. And she does come with her own wolf companion who has his own stat block in the book. And I'll say there is a fun little moment that might occur with the barbarian faction in this story that should surprise your players. And finally, we have the enigmatic elves. While they would prefer to get the gem for themselves, they're more concerned that the gem is used for certain purposes rather than others. So once again, there are possibilities for deals to be arranged, but more on that in a minute. The elves are going to generally stay quiet at the onset to see how things play out. And they are led by an elf of late summer who is able to cast a set of spells without worrying about gaining corruption. They are also quite adept with the spear and the composite longbow, so they can do significant damage from range. The elf of late summer also has the highest CR stat block in the book. So, you have your 4 factions, including the PCs, all trying to get this gem, which has the power to control and perhaps heal the great beasts of the forest that have fallen to corruption. Most Epic Encounter minion adventures are told in 2 acts, using both sides of the double-sided map, and this one is no different in that regard. Here is a burrow where the 4 sides will meet, and this can play out in any number of ways based on the actions of the players. I dare say that this encounter has the potential, more than any other Epic Encounter box, to play out differently each and every time you run it. Each faction has goals, strategies, battle tactics, and a few surprises they may spring on the players. Sometimes the motivations of the faction leaders might run contrary to their minions, so you can even have a little intra-faction discord. This could end up in a big brawl. It might end up diplomatically if the PCs can find compromise among the groups. The PCs might choose one faction to back against the others, but at the end, one faction is going to end up holding that gem. You can even, if you like, forego the PCs altogether and have each player control a faction at the table, though be sure your group is okay with a little potential player versus player action if it comes to it. The map as always has its own terrain gameplay features as well, including what's under the burrow, which I will leave you to discover, but when one faction does claim that gem, it brings us to Act 2, which takes place that evening at one of the base camps. Whose camp it is depends on how things played out in Act 1. Perhaps the PCs allied with the elves, and this is their camp. And they have to defend it against the barbarians or the goblins, or both, who make a final attempt to acquire the gem for themselves. Or maybe the barbarians manage to forcefully grab the gem in Act 1 and the PCs have to try to lift it from them that evening. Act 2 is modular. The various tents have write-ups in the book depending on whose camp this ends up being. And each faction has their own prescribed strategies on how to attempt to acquire the gem if they're attacking the camp. So once again, this adventure is going to be different each time you play. So I will say, this box, perhaps more than any other Epic Encounter box thus far, has the potential to be very memorable for your players as they will feel like their decisions really affected what happened. The story is going to be unique for them. But it also requires more from the Game Master to run a satisfying session with so many interconnected parts. The book gives Game Masters advice, but be aware that the level of difficulty here is a bit higher than normal. But I think it's also a great way to practice your game mastering skills before maybe you undertake a full campaign. This is the adventure to run for groups that don't like to be railroaded. Ruins of Symbaroum, the gem in the Barrow, is expected to land on February 18th, 2025 for between $50 and $60. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. Be sure you're subscribed to see my review of the boss box coming up here really soon. I'm also working on a video that'll serve as an overview of all the Epic Encounter boxes we've had so far. So if you have suggestions for what would be helpful or questions that I can answer in the video, please let me know down below. You can follow me for the latest news, plus free items and monsters for 5e and Pathfinder at one of the sites over here. For now though, please stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I will see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.